Broadcasting from the heart of the nation, the next generation in conservative talk radio. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Yes, it is. What is up, my friends? Welcome into it. Hey, happy Monday. Setting that tone for that whole week, and we are into the mindset where I think we're almost already kind of checked out, right? I know we have a full week of it, but we have Memorial Day a week from today, which you're excited about. I'm excited about the unofficial kickoff to the summertime. It's already warm. Apparently, we're going to get storms all night tonight across the Mid-America region. Kansas, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Missouri, Iowa, and beyond. We are in a massive tornado watch already, so let's have some fun with the crazy storms. Thanks, global warming. We appreciate that very much. AOC, you are rocking it for us. We have a lot to talk about today. Hopefully, everybody had a great weekend. I want to give you just a quick personal update. If you listen to the syndicated program over the weekend, you know what I'm talking about. Mrs. Voice of Reason having a health issue last week, which is why we were MIA for a few days on the radio. But we did give the details, kind of what happened, having a kidney stone that led to a kidney infection that led to sepsis throughout her entire body. It was kind of a scary touch and go for a while, floating around 104, 105 degree temperatures and blood pressure dropping down to like 80 over 50. And that happened for about a good 2 straight days in the ICU, a total being in the ICU for about 4 days. But good news, my friends, is that as of Saturday evening, she was officially out of the hospital. So that is great news. She is now home. She is now recovering, and Mrs. Voice of Reason, a tough one that woman is, which is why we love her oh so dearly. She is on the mend now. Now, here's the thing. The 1.5 to 2 centimeter kidney stone is still in her kidney, which means she has that surgery now scheduled for Tuesday, 2 weeks from now. I believe June 4th, June 3rd, whatever that is, that Tuesday. Apparently, that was the announcement. So she still has it in her, but the infection is now on the way out, and that is good news. Everything's back to normal. We just need to go in, and apparently it's so big they're going to surgically remove it, and then we can get back to normal thereafter. So thank you, by the way. From the bottom of my heart, I truly do mean it. Thank you for all the thoughts and prayers, all the kind messages, the emails, the social media, the text messages, everything that all of you have sent out. We really do truly appreciate that. She has seen all of them as well. She appreciates that more than you can imagine. The only reason I say all of this on the program is because I do see you as family, and I do appreciate it, and I feel comfortable telling you all this. Even though it's been a very personal and private matter, have not wanted to talk about it too much, and we wanted to make sure we were okay throughout this because there was some sketchy times where none of the antibiotics were working at all. Like they tried one after another, bag after bag after bag of antibiotics. Nothing was working for 2 straight days. Every time, an hour later, her temp would be back up to 104. And it was getting kind of dicey for a while. So they ended up, and it was weird, they ended up having to have me sign a waiver to put a stent in, and I forget what it's called, some kind of something line that they go into the elbow that runs up her veins up into her chest in order to inject the antibiotic because it was so strong that it would have eroded away her blood vessels and her veins if they would have injected it into her arm. That's how crazy it was. And luckily, that was the one that ended up killing the virus or the bacteria or whatever it was causing the sepsis. And we didn't really process a lot of that until it was over. I mean, during it, we're just like, all right, we got to do what we got to do. Antibiotics, that's great, cool, whatever. But looking back on it is almost more traumatizing than what it was in the moment at the time when we really didn't think there was a whole lot going on. So 4 days in the ICU, back at it, ready to rock and roll, and she's feeling much better. So thank you for the thoughts and prayers. Thank you for the kind words reaching out to us, and we're ready to go. She is back. She is slowly recovering, obviously, but she is home and resting. So that being said, on the health front, by the way, we're going to talk with Tim Keller at the bottom of the hour. He is the founder of U.S. Diabetes Care, and he's a healthcare and lifestyle analyst. We're going to talk about the movement, the agenda, and the plan for the Make America Healthy Again agenda with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. As you know, he went through a round of different hearings with Congress last week, and Democrats continue to play their political games. You're going to cut Medicaid and Medicare. You're going to cut Social Security. They only care about their money. They care about their funding for government programs. They don't give a rip about making people healthy, which is why he got a little fiery with them last week and a little testy, saying, I ended dyes in foods, which is what you've wanted. So we'll break down that hearing, what it was all about, and get our thoughts on the movement of the Make America Healthy Again agenda moving forward. That being said, hopefully everybody had a great weekend. Let's get through this week for Memorial Week, and let's get into our What's Trending.
What's Trending today?
Because there's obviously a lot to talk about. Late Sunday night, deep into the hours on Sunday evening, the Budget Committee in the House of Representatives finally ended up passing the big, beautiful package with some holdouts from some of the conservatives in there, where they ended up voting present. They did not vote for the bill, but they voted present to allow it to pass with a party line vote of 17-16 in that Budget Committee in the House of Representatives. Now, that is not to knock those four conservatives that were concerned about what this bill looked like. They wanted more cuts in spending because this, as of prior to some of the changes, or at least the negotiations that went into the weekend when it failed on Friday, was the fact that there were $5.2 trillion of tax cuts in the bill, which would be awesome, but that also means $5.2 trillion in budget shortfalls that we would see on top of what we've already seen. So that being said, we had to do some cuts. We have to find a way to cut. And Democrats obviously do not like that whatsoever. And right now, all the focus apparently during the negotiations has been on Medicaid. Yes, Medicaid, the Obamacare expansion of Medicaid expansion, the federal government covering 90% of those expenses at a statewide level that most all states have done except for roughly 6 in the nation. Kansas, where I'm hailing from, being one of those states where we have not expanded Medicaid. And that, by the way, is not without a massive effort from Democrats, including our Democrat governor in the state of Kansas. She has tried for the last 8 years that she's been in office to try to expand Medicaid, and luckily it has not worked for her. So that is where a lot of the haggling is coming from now. Democrats say we're cutting funding for Medicaid. All we're doing is not reimbursing states at the level of what Barack Obama had said we were going to when he expanded Obamacare, and when he openly said that we would not be able to do the reimbursements at a 90% level forever because it would be too expensive with too many states getting on it. Now, Andy, what is Medicaid expansion? It's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. Medicaid expansion is not covering individuals that are ill necessarily or that are disabled, allegedly. They are just covering low-income individuals who are healthy, able-bodied working Americans.
Say what?
I know. So, in other words, they can't get private insurance because of low income. So they offer Medicaid, which is a terrible program, by the way, and very few doctors, at least in Kansas, don't offer the coverage of Medicaid, which is why it's so hard to actually find a doctor to find someone that actually has Medicaid coverage to where you can go and see them. And the ones that do, they're too busy with backlogs of working with individuals that are disabled, not just a healthy-bodied individual that's low income. There's a big difference, right? If you are severely disabled and if you have a debilitating issue, then the government health care is for you. If you don't, and you're just a able-bodied 20s, 30s of working age, and you are working but just want to get on a government program, then all you're doing is bogging down the system with so many doctors that don't cover Medicaid options. So what are we doing here? And one of the discussions during these discussions of the big, beautiful package of this budget bill is to get rid of the reimbursement from the federal level to the statewide levels, which they do not like, and which is why some conservatives are saying this is moving in the right direction. We still have a ways to go, but some of those holdouts really have been focusing on the reforming of what this Medicaid program looks like.
For my friends on the left, let me classify it this way. You're being untruthful. You can say however you want to say, but to say we're cutting Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security is simply untruthful. You cannot cut Social Security anyway. And, you know, what this boils down to is a complete, we're operating on two different universes. You think the tax money is yours, government is your God, and that's what your bottom line that you have. You supported an administration and Joe Biden that train wrecked this country by letting 15 to 20 million illegals in this country where we have paid a price and are continuing to pay a price. Now, where are we on this bill? The tax cuts are great. The tax money is the taxpayers, not the government bureaucracy. And what we're dealing with now is so many good things that are happening. You can use class warfare, rich, poor, black, white. You're off base. 77 million people told you were off base, and you're still off base.
All right, so that was Congressman Ralph Norman. As he's part of that budget conversation, he voted no initially as one of the 4 conservatives that voted no for the bill because it didn't have enough cuts in it. He has flipped to vote present, just like so many others, to allow it to go through to the next committee, although he is not still necessarily happy with the bill. They just want the negotiations to continue on some of these additional, and I say cuts, we're just finally not allowing the government to spend our money on ridiculous things and subsidize everybody else because of Bernie Sanders and these ridiculous progressives that think we need universal health care in some aspect. That's not the way our system's set up. We don't need government controlling our lives through a healthcare industry. I want private options. And the only way for lower income individuals to get private options is to create more competition. How hard is this? I know they lose their minds over the private sector, they're for profit. But guess what? Guess what? When you are for profit, then you have to actually have a good product, right? You have to have good customer service. There's the pyramid. And I don't remember if they teach this in business school or where I heard this. I never took business school, but they talk about the pyramid, and you can always have 2 of the 3 in the triangle, and that's between good prices, quality products, and customer service. And you thrive to have a happy balance between all 3 of them. But the only way that you can have good product is to have competition to make sure that you're better than somebody else. The only way that you're going to have good prices is to have a cheaper price than somebody else, and you have that price war going on. When you have a monopoly in the industry, and right now that monopoly is the government, even though it's one of the government's duties to make sure there are no monopolies. When you have the government being the most ineffective program out there in the universe, and they're the monopoly, how are you going to have low prices and good quality at the same time? It's not going to work. It doesn't work that way. Logically, that does not make sense. If you want low prices, bring in more competition for insurance health care providers, by doctors, by the products at the retail store, whatever. That's how competition works, is to lower that price. If you want good quality, then you can choose. Do I want one that has a cheaper price, but maybe not the best quality? Or do I want to spend a little bit more money and have a better quality? Do I want good customer service to make sure they take good care of me? Or do they just not really care after they get their sale and they're done with you and just kind of toss you off to the side? That's how government works, is all the negative stuff. How the private sector works is if you want this to be better and you want the low-income individuals to have better options, that's how you cover it. Or you reform the entire system and you go to direct primary care systems, which is like the private memberships. You go without insurance and stop gouging insurance companies to charge $99 for a cotton ball because, well, hey, they're going to cover the majority of it. We'll get as much as we can. The entire system has been messed up. And for some reason, the other side of the aisle thinks the only way to solve it is to go deeper into the hole that got us here in the first place. Expansion of government health care, killing off the private sector, killing off the competition in the insurance industry. Now all we have is Medicare and Medicaid. And they think that we're going to cut these programs, which we're not, but we need to do some major reforms. And one of the reforms that we're going to do is make sure that states can pick up that slack. And if you want bigger government options to take care of more people that don't necessarily need to be on the government dime, then the state can pick up that slack. The government at the federal level is going to cover the bare minimum, and states can raise their taxes. They can do their own social programs. They can take care and take over the healthcare industry if that's what they choose to do, and let that social experiment work itself out. Let's see how well that goes. Because as far as I've seen, the Native American tribes have government health care. That's not the best. We had the VA system. That's terrible as well. We have California's healthcare system. That's terrible as well. How many more broken healthcare systems from the government do you need to prove that government shouldn't be involved in this matter?
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier. When reason meets radio. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Yeah, well, the President of the United States, President Trump, and his Secretary of Treasury Bezant, are doing a fantastic job. And the Secretary has laid out an objective of obviously getting our deficits down to 3% of GDP. Through strong economic growth, through the tax policy that we want to extend that the President put forward, I believe that's one piece of the puzzle that we must go do. But right now, we are not going to address the key drivers of spending that will make it impossible for the president and the secretary to achieve that objective. Bond markets are on a knife's edge. You know that, and I know that. And that is necessary for the free flow of capital to have that economic growth. If we continue to allow Medicaid to consume our budget and allow us to continue to drive that budget up so deficits go up, then we're not going to be able to achieve those objectives. Medicaid right now is now $1 trillion higher baseline than when we came in under Biden. We are spending $620 billion a year on Medicaid compared to $400 billion in 2019.
That's insane. So that's Congressman Chip Roy from the state of Texas talking about this Medicaid thing. Apparently, that's the holdup for this federal budget, this big, beautiful package, this reconciliation bill with everything in it, and the spending cuts that we need to address. $1 trillion more now than 4 years ago when Joe Biden got into office. $1 trillion. That's with a T for those of you that may be hard of hearing now for the radio. And to think that we're just going to let this go on and everybody, oh, why not? We'll just have more low-income individuals get on this. Remember Barack Obama? If you want to keep your plan, you can keep your plan. If you want to keep your doctor, you can keep your doctor. What we're going to do is we're not going to ban them. We're just going to drive them out of business because we don't have any overhead. We have the government. We'll subsidize it all. We'll just run them out, and then we can jack up all the prices as much as we want. The quality is obviously terrible. Did we not forget, and this used to be a joke on both sides of the political aisle, right? That it's good enough for government work, whatever, because we know how unqualified many people are. Not unqualified, but the quality of the product is really not the best, and we used to make fun of that. We don't trust politicians. We don't trust the work that they do, but yet somehow we're going to put our lives in their hands with the healthcare industry, and we're going to spend more and more and more and more money in order to take care of it, and that's going to be a successful view? I don't see how that works. So that's the holdup now, is reforms in the Medicaid program, not by spending less on it, but making states actually take over and handle more of it, because even Barack Obama said it wasn't going to be feasible forever to reimburse states at a 90% level. So what does that mean? We're moving forward, and where are we now with the bill? How do we get this to the main floor? Because we still have some work to do. Speaker Mike Johnson speaking yesterday as they go into the vote late on Sunday evening.
Look, all 11 of our committees have wrapped up their work, and they spent less and saved more than even we projected initially. This really is once-in-a-generation opportunity that we have here. So you heard there the update. The Budget Committee will reconvene this evening. They'll get that through the committee, and the plan is to move it to the Rules Committee by midweek and to the House floor by the end of the week. So we meet our original Memorial Day deadline.
Boom. So that's the deadline for it. We'll see if that happens. It did pass through that Budget Committee with a 17-16 vote for those conservatives that blocked it last time. They just voted present to allow it to happen. So reforms still could potentially happen, but they're going to be minor. I don't know if they're happy enough to allow it to go through the entire House floor. We'll see as that gets closer. The biggest concern that we really have now is going to be the Senate, because it is a tighter margin. We already know that Rand Paul is more than likely going to vote against it because it doesn't have enough of the cuts in there that we need. Although he agrees with some of the other issues, he's not very happy with the amount of spending cuts because we need more cuts. And again, I asked the question during the weekend program that we had, why would we really kind of slow, progressive do this budget now? If we're going to do the Trump agenda, and if we're going to push for the Donald Trump big, beautiful package, and if we're hitting the reset button in Washington, D.C., and if Doge is going to try and save us $1 trillion in spending cuts, why would we not go all out, grow the huevos, and go as crazy on this bill as we can? And why wouldn't Republicans actually get on board to support that agenda? Why would we just be like, well, we're going to slowly start steering the ship away? We're off the cliff, man. We're the Wile E. Coyote that already has half his body down the cave, or down the canyon, and his head sitting up there with the sign saying, please help, because we're that far gone.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier. Truth, reason, and common sense. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Trump's modern-day Gestapo is scooping folks up off the streets. They're in unmarked vans, wearing masks, being shipped off to foreign torture dungeons. No chance to mount a defense, not even a chance to kiss a loved one goodbye, just grabbed up by masked agents, shoved into those vans, and disappeared.
Wow. So the very positive, encouraging statements from former vice presidential candidate Tim Walz, Mr. Jazz Hands himself, as he is out there talking to apparently graduations at universities. That's the thing now. You go out and talk to the young generation about the excitement of moving into the workforce, starting your life after all this education that you've done. All the world is your oyster. The streets paved with gold, the opportunity for everybody. And then you're out there talking about Donald Trump rounding people up. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing, man? This guy, he's a whole nother level, man. I don't know. Well, I don't know what to think. Well, I do know what to think about that guy, but it's nothing that we could say on the radio, right?
I'm special!
All right. Nonetheless, let's get into what's trending. What do you say?
What's trending today?
As you know, last week was a big week for not only the Trump agenda, him touring around Europe, around the Middle East, making all these trade deals, but there were some hearings last week as well with Tulsi Gabbard, our National Intelligence Director, also with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for the Department of Health and Human Services, with the ongoing MAHA movement, Making America Healthy Again. And for whatever reason, the talking points from the other side of the aisle were not focused on, gee, wow, you were able to ban dyes in processed foods in like 100 days of the administration. I would think that's pretty good, right? Oh, you're going to do a research on autism and do an investigation to what's leading to autism. Wow, maybe we can lower the rate of autism from 1 in 33 back to what it was before of like 1 in 10,000. I would think that's pretty good, right? Yeah, let's applaud for that one. We can figure out why vaccines have so many negative health risks when we weren't doing any placebo testing on those whatsoever. Maybe that would be a good thing for us as well. Maybe we can back off on processed foods or what's in some of the processed foods to where we don't have childhood obesity rates at record levels, worse than any other nation on the face of the earth, and we don't have heart disease issues for adults like any other nation on the face of the earth. Maybe these are all good things, right? But no, it was all about their money. Where's Medicaid? Where's Medicare? You're going to cut the funding. How dare you try to ban abortions? Whatever issue that they tried to bring up during those hearings. But where are we moving? What's the agenda of the MAHA movement look like moving forward? Happy to have on the program. He is the founder of the U.S. Diabetes Care, and he's a healthcare lifestyle analyst looking at this healthcare movement and revolution in this nation. Happy to have on here Tim Keller. Tim, how are you, my friend?
Andy, how are you, buddy?
Hey, doing great. It's great to have you on the program. I'm excited about what we're seeing in this change. Are we going to see some major reforms, do you think, in the healthcare industry in the next few years?
Andy, that's what I'm hoping for. I mean, the MAHA movement is incredible. RFK Jr. is exposing a lot with Big Pharma, Big Medical. I think it needs to be exposed. It's been going on for a long time. You look at the evolution of healthcare and westernized medicine since the 1950s till now. We are the sickest nation in the world with the best doctors who are, unfortunately, trained to treat a symptom, not a patient. The power's been taken away from the doctors and given to Big Pharma, Big Medical.
How did we get to that point, Tim? How do you think that we allowed our healthcare system to get to that point where, like you said, we're not treating the deeper-rooted causes of why someone's sick, but we just learn to, oh, hey, you have an issue, here's a pharmaceutical pill. The average American on 6 different pharmaceutical medications in the country. We're just going to put a Band-Aid on it, and then when you get side effects from that because of the pill, we're going to give you another pill to get rid of those side effects and just lead you down this whole road. Why did we allow our healthcare focus to be that as opposed to, gee, maybe we should look a bit deeper to figure out why you're sick in the first place?
Well, Andy, it's a simple math. What happened in about the 1970s, Big Pharma came to Big Medical and said, what's your biggest spend? Big Medical said, training our residents that are not able to bill under arrangement is our biggest cost to healthcare. Big Pharma said, hey, don't worry, we'll take over that. So they came in, took over all the resident training programs in Big Medical. They taught a doctor how to treat a symptom, not a patient, which was writing a script. Now all these doctors that are coming in are, even though they were trained in medical, they were trained to treat a symptom, not a patient. Doctors, unbelievably, Andy, get only 8 hours of nutritional training in medical school.
Wow. Unbelievable.
So now, guess what? So now we have no nutritional training. We have matter of fact, Andy, we have some of the most unhealthy doctors in the country as well. I mean, you go to a doctor and you're looking at a 350-pound doctor and they're like, hey, you need to get healthy and lose weight. And by the way, take these 6 medications for diabetes or any ailment, high blood. What do you want? I mean, You can go to the doctor right now, Andy, and make up 7 things, and you'll walk out with 10 medications.
Wow.
It's just where we're at.
It is really unbelievable. I asked a heart doctor one time. They were doing a video stream, a live stream, and he's an owner of a hospital. I used to know him, haven't talked to him in years, and he was doing a live stream asking questions. I asked a question on the stream about cold therapy, taking cold showers, doing ice baths, that sort of thing, and what that does for your heart, what that does for your body to be able to strengthen your immune system, make you healthier. And he completely disregarded it and said, no, that's not proven to actually help you whatsoever. Don't recommend it. You don't want to get hypothermia, so don't recommend any type of cold showers or ice baths. This is a high-end heart surgeon and a heart doctor that's not recommending people do cold therapies, because everything I've heard from people that use it, which I do myself, is absolutely amazing. It boosts your immune system. It strengthens your veins. It strengthens the blood circulation in your body. And yet we have a heart doctor saying, no, there's no proven evidence of that whatsoever. Don't do that.
Well, Andy, the funny thing is you bring that up because U.S. Diabetes Care in the last 9 years, we've having a proven success with lifestyle medicine to change a bunch of diabetics' lives through lifestyle medicine. We had to go to the biohacking world, which is the regenerative medicine you're talking about, to try to make traction with our app from a cash basis, because the government completely shut us out when they figured out we were changing diabetics' lives one after another. And biohacking with the cold plunge, hyperbaric chambers, there's some Avicen, which is a great, a thermal product. I mean, there's so many things that are biohacking, which is regenerative medicine, that are way better for people than medicine.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Talking about diabetes for sure, what is the leading cause? Obviously, we hear about sugar content all the time, sugar intake. As far as I'm aware, sugar's in just about every type of food that you get on the shelves nowadays, every type of processed food. Is there a focus now, and do you think that RFK Jr., the Department of Health and Human Services, can we start working sugar back out of our systems to where we don't have the highest rates of childhood obesity and heart disease in this nation and diabetes that we've ever seen?
Well, absolutely. And the thing is, it's the processed sugars, right? Processed sugars, processed flour, processed hydrogenized wheat, high fructose corn syrup, refined foods, bad fats. There's so many bad fats out there. I mean, I had a guy the other day ask me, why is the Mexican and black communities riddled with diabetes? I said, because, even though their food tastes great, they're eating a lot of refined processed foods, which are all made with bad fat. And so you wonder why, those two communities are riddled with diabetes. Let's talk about the kids. There's 93 million pre-diabetics in the country right now, Andy. 93 million. Now, that number is a little skewed because those are Medicare, Medicaid numbers, right? So you got federal and state insurance. We're not talking about private commercial. That's not even in the equation.
Yeah.
The problem is a third of those are children from 10 and up. Type 2 diabetes. We got kids coming to our center that parents say, well, they're autoimmune type 1 because there's no way an 11-year-old can have type 2 diabetes. And we run a battery of tests and insulin resistance tests, and we come back to parents and say, your kid's not type 1. They're a type 2 diabetic.
Wow.
There's a serious problem. And when you think about it, Andy, do you drive by the park today? Do you see any kids out in the park? I mean, no. They're all sitting at home on sedentary lifestyles on their devices and iPads and computers. No one's exercising.
Yeah.
No one's eating whole foods. Everybody's eating refined fast foods and fatty foods. And it's really killing America.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. What's the alternative here? Which, by the way, thank you for bringing up the Hispanic foods, because I'm making tacos tonight, so now I'm reconsidering my diet for dinner tonight on that one. But how do we get away from it? Is it just the processed and refined foods, or I mean, it's so difficult to get away from all of that. Even trying to use canned vegetables, where they put so many preservatives in some of the canned foods nowadays, and the boxed foods, instant potatoes. How do you get away from all of this stuff?
Well, Andy, there's a rule of thumb. We take all of our diabetics shopping, and what we do is we show them the outer ring of the story: leafy greens, legumes, vegetables and fruits. Limit your meat intake. I'm not telling people to quit eating meat, but let's definitely quit eating processed meats. You got to get your meats from a source that they're coming from. That's not big agriculture meat. That's basically processed poison, in my opinion.
Do you mean like ones that maybe haven't used as many big steroids and some of the big injections that they use? Okay.
Yeah, get the steroids and antibiotics out of our meat. I mean, this stuff, we don't even know what we're ingesting. We think we're eating a good piece of meat, and here we are taking on antibiotics and steroids into our body. Our body doesn't know how to break it down. So not type 1, Andy, but type 2, type 3 vascular dementia, gestational, all those things, right? So basically, when the pancreas produces insulin, the insulin gets pushed to the liver produces glucagon and gets uploaded to the muscle. So basically, when it uploads to the muscle, if you are insulin resistant, which is the precursor for all disease states, right? You can hold insulin resistance for 10 to 15 years, Andy, in your muscles before you become a metabolic type 2, type 3 vascular dementia diabetic, because the excess sugar hides in your muscles. We're not exercising, we're not getting it out, and not type 1s, because type 1s can't even upload because they're not producing insulin. But type 2, type 3 is actually reversible if you get the insulin resistance out of the body, clean out the cells by eating whole foods, hydrating with good water, not all this bottled crap water they got out, just good water, and fiber, taking more fiber, which you're going to get naturally from your fruits and vegetables, and then staying away from the refined foods, the inner aisles of the stores that have all these inner aisle foods, refined foods have just nasty, bad chemicals in them.
Bad stuff. Yeah, I tell you what, Tim, we got to take a hard break here. Hang on the line. It's Tim Keller, U.S. Diabetes Care. You can find them online at usdiabetescare.com and find all this information. They have their app as well. You can get so much more information. I will continue this when we come back around the corner for your Monday here on The Voice of Reason.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier. America's safe space for common sense. This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Yeah, what's up? Welcome back into it. Truth, reason, common sense. Welcome back into your Voice of Reason. Trying to bring some sanity back into the world, which is difficult to do because it seems to be a minority in society today. But nonetheless, here we are. Have no fear. The Voice of Reason is here. We're hanging out with Tim Keller. He is with the U.S. Diabetes Care. usdiabetescare.com is the website. You can also download their app for all the great tips. He's also a healthcare and lifestyle analyst as we look at ways to try and be healthy in society to get rid of the record rates of heart disease, the record rates of diabetes, and the record rates of childhood obesity rates, which are absolutely insane right now. So, Tim, we were talking about ways that we can be healthy, what foods to avoid, kind of how we can get back on track here. And obviously the exercise, major part of it, getting rid of the processed foods, major part of it. Is there a particular diet that you recommend, keto diets or fasting diets or veganism or, the straight meat diets? What do you recommend if we're going to start working our way back here?
Yeah, so obviously, Andy, you hit the nail on the head. Exercise is a very important part of this component. And I'm not telling people to go out and run a marathon. Just get some steps in a day. Get out and walk. Do a vigorous walk, work your way up to a mile, work your way up to 2 miles. You get to 10,000 steps a day. That's wonderful. Secondly, we recommend the Loma Linda lifestyle medicine diet, which is, the blue zone. Loma Linda is the only blue zone in the United States and California. That's really our focus. Now, if you talk about the blue zone diet, it is they would like to be 100% plant-based. We're realists. Most people can't do that. So we're saying, hey, let's do majority plant-based, fruits and vegetables. If you do choose to eat meat, get it from a good source, where you're buying your meat. Secondly, let's get away from the processed meat. And let's not have meat. Even if you're getting a good source, we don't need to eat meat three meals a day, not breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Interesting.
Just try to have your meat be, 3 to 4 ounces of meat once a day.
That's wild. That's interesting. I will say, and it's being tough, I live in Kansas. I'm right around cattle farmers, so I like my steak and my burgers a lot. It's very hard to get away from me. I will tell you, though, I tried an all-raw vegan diet, no meat whatsoever, no cooked anything. It was all a raw vegan diet. I did that a couple years ago for a month, and I will tell you, I felt better than I think I ever felt in my life. It was amazing. It's hard to stay on it, and it's really expensive to do something like that, but it was amazing. I felt so good.
Well, you know what, Andy? It's funny because, we have a lot of our main centers in East Tennessee, Morristown. It's 45 minutes east of Knoxville. Tell one of those East Tennessee boys that they're not going to eat meat again in their life. They're going to just run out the door.
Yeah.
So we try to be realists from the standpoint that, people do like their meat. They're not going to stay completely away from it. But you know what? I call it the 70-30 model. And what I mean by that is 70% Monday through Friday, be clean. Drink a lot of water, hydrate, eat fiber, eat more fruits and vegetables, and then on the weekend, have your steak, have your burgers, have a sweet. And we're not telling people to be body Nazis, but we're saying that if you can do that kind of mentality, diabetes is not going to be a part of your life anymore. And you know what? Stay out of the inner aisles of the food. Stay away from fast. Fast food is the worst
Sure.
food on the planet. I mean, there's nothing worse than fast foods. You could take a McDonald's burger and fries. Hate to pick on them, but I'm going to, and put it in your corner on the bookshelf, and a year later, it's still going to look the same.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, last question for you, Tim. We got just about a minute left as we have to wrap up. But when it comes to drinks, when it comes to sodas, there's the push right now to not only get rid of dyes, which is really good, but get rid of the high fructose corn syrup and go back to sugar cane in soda. I know people aren't supposed to really drink a lot of pop or soda anyways, but is that going to help going from the high fructose corn syrup and the dyes and going to straight actual sugar?
Andy, 180%. High fructose corn syrup is chemical poison. We don't even know how they came up with that formula, but they did. And this pop, especially we're talking about East Tennessee again, but it's all over the country. Oh, I hydrate, I drink sweet tea. No, you don't. That's processed sugar. That's horrible for you. Pop, high fructose corn syrup is horrible for you. Hey, if you could take a old penny and throw it in a can of Coke, and it comes out brand new and shiny, what do you think that's doing to your body?
Yeah, well, when you drink a Coca-Cola, yeah, and it erodes away, rust on vehicles and stuff. I know even law enforcement used to have a six-pack of Coke in their vehicle for rusted situations, whatever that is. That's insane to me, and the fact that we're ingesting it, it's good, but I'm not a big soda drinker either. It's just wild to me what we've allowed in our bodies, what we've allowed for the government to say that they're here making us healthy, and they've allowed all this stuff to happen. Is mind-blowing as well. Tim, we appreciate it very much, my friend. It's fascinating information. I'm so glad we're focused on health. We're making ourselves better. We got to get you back on and do it again real soon, my friend.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Andy. Have a good evening.
You as well. Appreciate it very much. Again, go check it out at usdiabetescare.com, usdiabetescare.com. You can also download the app for all these tips and so much more. Got to do it again real soon. All right, tomorrow, where are we at with the reconciliation bill, the big, beautiful package, and are we learning more conspiracies and hidden documents in the government? We'll cover all that. Until then, be your own voice of reason. We'll see you on the radio. Bye.